So my fast furniture flip setup isn't just about my supplies. This might surprise you, but I have a setup when I find my pieces. I have a certain setup with my supplies, which I'm going to show you. And then I have a setup when it comes to selling, when I go to sell the pieces. Hi, I'm Georgia, the Dresser Fixer Upper, and I'm here to help you build out your entire flippin' business because you can find it, maybe you can fix it, but can you sell it? And I'm here to help you sell into the 4-figure flippin' months on repeat. So let's start with this setup, and I'll show you first in my 3-step process. If you remember these 3 steps and you start to build out your flippin' business with these 3 steps, then you're going to be on your way to 4-figure flippin' months on repeat. Okay, so the first one is find, then fix, then flip. And I'm going to show you my setup in all 3 of those areas. But you always want to keep them in mind. Pay attention to your finding. Pay attention to your fixing. Are you shortening down the time? Pay attention to the flipping or the sales, really the most important part. And you'll hear me say this over and over. You can find it, you can fix it, but can you sell it? I mean, if you can't sell it, who cares, right? So let's get into this. Okay, what is my setup when it comes to finding? I'll cover this real quickly so I can get to the supplies. I know you want to see the supplies. But in the finding, my setup is I have 2 to 3 dressers in rotation at all times, So when I sell one, I'm out that day looking for my next one. So I can keep the flow going and there's not a bottleneck where you get stuck, right? So I find that next one, I keep looking day after day as I'm out and about doing my normal routine. I will pop in. Remember, you pop into the secondhand stores, or you're sitting in line somewhere and you can be checking Marketplace for things that you can pick up. You can do it that way too. But my setup is when I get that piece home, it is on its back in my van. And when I get it home, I have a way of keeping it up in my van, and I start to work on the bottom. And I love dark gel stain. I'll show you that in just a second. But I will begin the quick cosmetic fixing on the bottom. So I'm working I'll get my shop vac and I'll get the cobwebs off the bottom that are usually there, right? So it's kind of like this setup or this workspace up inside of my van. And, if you like to do this, I will also lay down an old sheet, old blanket, tarp, or whatever. And I use my van. It's an older van. I use it primarily for my furniture flips. So I don't have to worry too much about, getting stuff, on the van. But you can lay down a sheet or a tarp. And so I'll work on it, and a lot of times I'll pull it out and just let the feet touch the floor, and it's still leaning up against the back of my van. And that's my setup where I will, work on the sides of it. I'll pull out the drawers. Maybe the knobs need painted or something, so I'll take those off. And I just get that I work on all the areas, getting it cleaned up, applying the gel stain. Maybe I don't need to apply gel stain. Maybe it's just Old English for dark woods, But, I get all of that ready. And basically, before I even stand it up outside of my van, I've got 3/4 of it done. Maybe just the top needs to be done. But there's something about doing it that way right when I get it home that it makes everything go so much faster. And even as I'm driving on the way home, my wheels are turning about when I get back and I'm working on the bottom. What do I need to do, to the bottom? I'm already plotting and planning what I need to do to it. So all of this kind of setup in my mind, the setup in the back of my van and the way that I do it just makes everything go faster. Okay, that's kind of a mix between find and fix, but you get what I mean. So now we'll get into the fixing supplies. And of course, right here, I have my all super important. This, I think, is one of the most important supplies that you can get. It is called Breath Buddy Mask. But the way that this looks is you put it, there's a small strap here on the front part of the mask that goes over your head and around your neck. And then it'll slide right up, right? Just like this. And then this goes over your head. And it's secure. But this is one of your most important tools. I encourage you, number one, get this one. It is super important. I throw this on anytime that I am dealing with the fumes in any way. It's just really important to save your health. I had a close relative pass from lung cancer, and it's important. You want to save your health when you're doing this all the time. So that I'll put down here. This is my dolly. It is plastic on the bottom. I love that. You can get that on Amazon. And even though the bottom is plastic, it works really well for moving these dressers around. Even if it's from one end of the room to the other, it works fabulous. My guy loves it because I don't have to keep, pestering him about helping me move my dressers around, right? Okay, so I'll try to go in order of what I would typically get as far as your most important ones. These are just regular kitchen gloves, but they're thicker and they're comfortable. I put these on whenever I'm applying gel stain. Another thing that's great is lint-free rags. This isn't really lint-free. It was an old rag I had. But what I love the most are like the white Hanes t-shirts cut up. I guess I'm so used to using those. You can also just get a whole packet of lint-free rags. And a lot of times I'll take them, they might be a lot bigger, and I'll cut them in fourths. And, they're just a smaller size, and you can use these. I dip it into the dark gel stain, but gel stain, you want to look for gel, not just penetrating. And it just goes on more like a polish. I feel like I can control it better. And I normally get two colors, black and red mahogany, or just mahogany, kind of this reddish tone. And I use that on a lot of my pieces. Sometimes if I get a lighter, like oak kind of dresser, I could get like an antique oak, or sometimes I can just use the mahogany, and it just kind of deepens and enriches the finish. But with the gel stains, you can really play around, mix. I sometimes will mix a little of the black in. Sometimes especially on just the top of the dressers, if I sand, it's a quick sanding. I try to sand the least amount I can possibly get away with, to then add on some stain and some poly. If I try to even go towards more of a rustic look with my sanding, so that I am not caught in this perfectionist, takes more time loop and slows down your flipping process. You want to be moving through the find, fix, flip. You want to be moving right along through there and keeping things from going too slow. I also like to have a stainable wood filler. So wood filler's great. A lot of times I'll use that when I get the piece home and I have to work on the bottom. A lot of these chips out of the wood, or things like that, are on the bottom with the legs or the bottom of the dressers. That's what's great about that setup, where you're working on the bottom first, and you can just easily apply your wood filler and on any places down there, and it can be drying a bit while you're working on other parts of the dresser. Another thing I use is, you can see how well this has been used. This is my paint scraper, and sticky stuff, paint splatters. A lot of times you can become pretty skilled at using it just enough where you don't really damage the finish. And even if you do, you can use your gel stain, even the dark part of it, black. Press it into the area if you've taken off too much of the finish, and then dab in some of the mahogany. So there's this whole creative process with quick cosmetic fixing that you can do to get your pieces done faster. And you just experiment. But a lot of these quick cosmetic techniques and things that I have, they are in my academy. There's just so many of them that's where I keep them. And it's a great monthly membership where you can get in there and get personalized help from me and check out those videos. Another quick cosmetic way I love to sand is using still wool, especially on like white dressers. White dressers can sell really well in most market areas, in most towns and cities. And so sometimes on those white dressers, on the finish, there'll be just some marks that could easily, if you just lightly, carefully use that still wool, it can get off those marks, you know? And also even for regular wood, there might be, I don't know, certain marks and stuff there, maybe a little crayon, something somebody got on there, and that will take it out. And even if there's a little worn area in the finish, you can use your gel stain and even a little bit of your poly. Now, a new product that I absolutely love. It's a wood stain in a spray can, just like spray paint. It's so awesome. And this is wood stain, okay? Now, what I love about that is there was a dresser I had where on the corner of the drawer, it was an MDF dresser, so not real wood, but the paper finish was kind of worn down, you know? And so I found that wood stain that was in a spray can, and I thought, yes, cosmetically, I could just see spraying on there, and it would just cover that. And you know what? It worked great. Instead of the gel stain in that case, it would have been too harsh or too heavy, but that spray, that wood stain in a spray can was just wonderful. And the color on this was American Walnut, and that was kind of, matched up pretty well with that dresser I had that had the problem on the drawer. You can get a sanding block too, and I mainly just use this inside of wood drawers when there's like an oily stain or spot. It's kind of like spot sanding and cosmetically getting that spot out. There's also things you can do when you have, veneer inside of drawers. There's self-adhesive veneers, self-adhesive felt on Amazon that you can get and put it down inside the drawers. That's a quick fix for that. And another thing I really like, WD-40. That is something I use even on wood tracks. It really works well. I mean, you can use beeswax and stuff like that, but gosh, your WD-40 works even on, there's like wood on metal tracks, there's wood on wood, all of it. It seems to work just dandy for all of that. So you can take your pick on what you want to use there, but you can use it for all of it really, and I have found it stays lubricated. Sometimes with the wood on wood, I have to put it on a little bit more liberally, but it works great. Another thing that I really love is what's called wipe on poly. The reason I like it so well, it comes in the shape of a can, and I love wipe on poly because it's easy to work with. It's so funny. From back in the day, I would always be using paper plates and at times I would put my stain on there if I had to mix it. Such a hillbilly thing, but I am kind of a hillbilly from West Virginia. But also I would do that with the wipe on poly, pour it in there, take my rag, wipe it on. So it's easy to work with. And then it seems like the sheen seems to be just right for a lot of my dressers. I need kind of that medium satin, or, not a really glossy sheen. And it seems to be just right for that. So you can also get wood glue, that can come in handy, but most of these things will get you started on the road to quick cosmetic fixing and get you headed towards that faster flipping, shortening down your fixing time. Last but not least, so we've covered find, my setup that I do, and then we've covered my fix-it supplies for quick cosmetic restoration. Now we need to cover the flip, the selling part. So very important, okay? So the most important thing I can tell you to do, your setup that you need to have is, yes, you can sell on Marketplace, but just be very aware of the garage sale site that it is. Sometimes you might find a buyer on there that will pay the higher prices, but that platform has changed a lot. So the setup that you need, the setup that I have is I have a Facebook business page that sells my fine dressers rescued and restored. And you need that Facebook business page because I also run Facebook ads to very specific audiences out in my local area. You can also run Facebook ads from that Facebook business page to your surrounding states and get into shipping that way. You just have to have the audience that those ads are going to. It needs to be optimized. It needs to be specified for your local market, for the city or town that you live in, so you can reach those buyers that will pay top dollar that are looking for your pieces. So in order to get your Facebook business page set up, to get your sales set up, is you want to grab my masterclass, my free masterclass. It's under 10 minutes, and that will help you get your flippin' Facebook page set up. And you can get started expanding and up-leveling your marketing and not just relying on Marketplace, okay? Go beyond that so that you can reach 4-figure months on repeat. So the very first thing you want to do, get your Facebook business page set up. I show you step by step just how to do that. So go grab that and get your setup set up. So in my next series of videos, I'm going to really get into, you can find it, you can fix it, but can you sell it? We're going to get all into that, how to get your flips sold, all in the sales area. So join me in my next video and we will talk about, do you need to sell your flipped furniture faster? We're going to get into sales. So I will see you there.